BlackCloak provides concierge cybersecurity protection to corporate executives and high net worth individuals to protect against hacking, reputational loss, financial loss, and the impacts of a corporate data breach. Learn more at blackcloak.io.
All right, welcome everybody. This is another episode of Redefining Society and Technology podcast, which means we can talk about pretty much anything we want nowadays. And that's the beauty of it. It's like a large container, and sometimes we touch on very specific things like coding and cybersecurity, but most of the time is about society, the way we talk to each other, the way we interact with each other, and how it's changing with technology. And now hopefully we do change technology to fit our goals and not just following those blinking light and funny noises, which is my favorite quote to say. So here, this is funny because it's great and funny because Maury here, we had a prep call, and I wish we recorded that. So
it was great.
Then we got together this morning, and we start talking. I'm like, wait a minute, let's not waste.
Hit record.
Let's hit record and let's freestyle. So Maury, Rogow, that's how I learned your last name.
Thank you.
I
That's
hope
right.
I
Yes.
got it right.
Yes, thank you.
You are in Florida right now and in Miami, but you spend quite some time here in my neighborhood in LA.
Mm-hmm. Loved it there. Yes.
Yeah. So what we're going to talk about today, I guess it's a little bit of everything: creativity, the branding, the interacting with technology, mostly with generative AI, and how I think we can just not jump on that train, because hopefully we've already jumped on that train. And it's going to
hopefully
right?
the listeners here already are. They're already at the second stop down the line.
I hope so. Otherwise, they didn't read the title of the podcast. So, Maury, a little intro about yourself. It's way too long for me to go over that, and I don't like to read bio for people. But what is the most relevant things that you think our audience should know before we dive into this conversation?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. And so it is great talking with you. So thank you so much for having me. And what I've seen over the last 30 years of my career, it's truly been the same problem just occurring again and again and again. Technology shifts, still the same problem. Technology shifts, gets better, still the same problem. And what it is companies don't know how to differentiate themselves. So they lose the cost, or they lose based on the bigger brand. And that makes businesses fail. So what do? We step in there and we help them tell the right story. So, it's a little bit different than some of your normal listeners, some of the normal guests you've had on here. But I really wanted to be on to talk about that, because everybody on here has had a pretty unique story. But when I went and kind of looked them down and I looked on their website, that kind of thing, is that popping up? Is that why people are working with them? And so now we're in this other, this next massive shift. So, this with AI, generative AI and agentic AI coming, we're in a huge shift, huge changes coming. So it's a great conversation to have. And what does that mean? I sold high tech. And so I was, head of regions for high tech. I sold software. We sold our company to Cisco Systems, which was, the NVIDIA of the time. 20 years ago, the company to work for, the company that was growing the fastest was Cisco, and Cisco purchased us, and I loved my time there. And did a few more startups. And after did those, I said, what I really want to do, I want to move to Hollywood. I've always wanted to do this since I was a kid. I'm hitting 35. And if I don't go right now, I will never do this. You know what I mean? So I picked up, literally flew out, found a place, and dove into Hollywood. And happily, based on my previous career, I didn't have to go and, be a barista, and, make coffee in the mornings while I was looking for auditions in the afternoon. I was pretty stable. And even through a couple of those heavy crashes, made it through. And I started taking everybody I could to lunch. Here's a producer, here's a director, here's actors. What do you do? What's this industry like? I knew how to ask great questions. So I wanted to learn, how do you enter this, this animal of Hollywood? And, the thing that kept occurring is, if you're a creator, create. If you're a director, direct. If you're a producer, produce. Okay, here we go. So I did, and I ended up producing 2 feature films. I consulting producer with producer of The Dark Knight, the Batman,
Mhm.
franchise.
Yep.
And, and many others. It was a great time. I did on stage stand-up comedy at the Comedy Store and the Ha Ha and the Laugh Factory. I was very proud of those days because I've always wanted to do that. Um, and again, another wave hit. What's going to happen now? And I say, you know what? I'm telling stories here. Let me do that for the brands that I used to work with. They need it now. And like we talked about, I don't know if I really want to be jumping in my car, driving city to city and getting paid in chicken wings and, $75 per show as a stand-up, right? Which is
And
how it
cheap
goes.
beer.
And cheap beer, right? Yeah, exactly. The flat cheap beer, chicken wings, French fries. I'm like, I kind of made it through this phase of my life. I'm not 20, 21. So like, let me start producing. And that really took off. We ended up doing over 1,000 commercials and explainer videos and got into animation, started getting into new tools. And that's when, after 10 years of that, I started looking for a little bit new angles. Now I'm helping companies really brand, really launch, not just do their videos, but really launch their content marketing. And a lot of companies in your space, in tech and cybersecurity. That's where I came from.
Yep. But
So
I mean, great background. We all, I think, when you get to a certain age, we all have lived a few different lives, I think. And I think also what really matter, if it's possible, is that each piece of that life, it makes you who you are today, and makes you think about the thing that you think today. So if you and I know that because we already talked about it. We kind of base everything on storytelling. I mean, I do the podcast. I come from advertising and branding myself. I like to write, and all the things that you've done in the past. It's all about telling story, which is pretty much what we do as human. Now, what is fascinating nowadays, if you want to think about maybe the major changes in our lifetime, maybe the internet, social media, in the way we do advertising, marketing, and tell story, way before Gutenberg and the print press,
right.
and the radio and TV, which I love. My favorite media is radio, but but here he's big. Right now it's big because it's not just the media, it's actually who's writing the story, right?
Mhm.
And we really, I don't know your point on that, but I don't believe we're really giving away our storytelling skills to AI. So here's a jumping point for you. What's your thought on that?
So just quick note, Steve Jobs said it best, what you said before, which is you can connect the dots looking back at your life. He was then you can see how all these things, add up to who you are now.
Yep.
So I feel like that's a cool
It's
summary.
probably influenced by that because I love Jobs. So
Yeah.
Steve Jobs.
Yeah. He's innovator of innovators and marketer of marketers. He was amazing in so many ways. And, and a controversial figure, and some, people that knew him, he knew his way and it was going to be his way. So, from what I've heard, from what I've read, but we, we're entering this area now where storytelling, let me just ship it off to, GPT or Perplexity or Manus, and it's going to tell my story for me. Well, what we're finding is this is just that it's incredible how many times I'm seeing this again and again, mainly from technology companies because they like to play with the tools and use the tools. We're getting the same sort of what we call a brief. Like, here's what we want to do. Here's how we want to launch. They all look the same. I'm like, this is the same problem. The first that came in, okay, this looks pretty good. We can use some of this. I definitely want to take your influence, and I'd like to take, the idea you have here. But then another company sent it in, and another. So they still don't. The AI doesn't know how to differentiate unless you tell it exactly what you are, who you are, what you care about, how you're different. I keep getting to this, how you're different. If you're cybersecurity and you're the big difference is your price, well, it, good, race to the bottom, right? But that's not typically how they try to differentiate. But they're going to go like, oh, the best service, the best features, the best capabilities. Everybody says that. That's not a story. That's a feature list, man. That's an old brochure. So you have to be able to stand out and look different. And if you don't know how to do that now, it's going to be harder and harder, because AI is just going to go what it knows about the world, what's been published, and put your quote story together. And you're going to look just like your competition, and you're going to lose more and more because you all look the same. So the biggest brand wins or the cheapest price wins. Same thing as 30 years ago.
Yep.
So that's the fear, and that's the problem with these amazing tools, right? We need better input so we get better output. And maybe this is why the prompt engineers are, getting offers of, hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars, to come work for companies.
Yeah, I mean, I love that you went there, because the prompt engineer, I mean, I feel like I'm still figuring out myself. I have fights over with ChatGPT. I mean, I'm literally like, I'm gonna bring you my thing. Like I write short stories for kids with my mom. She writes her own, and she has her own style, so that's easy. When I write my own, I'm very picky. Like a word needs to sound a certain way. It's almost like rhythmics, like if you're writing lyrics. And I use ChatGPT, but I realize I just can't count on it. So like 2 nights ago, after an hour that I was trying to give it the right prompt, and it kept changing things the way I didn't want it, and forgetting the thing that I really liked. I said, screw this, I'm gonna write it myself. But all of those interaction, it was almost like being in a writer room, being the art director or with the designer and the copywriter, old school, and say, this is my view, tell me your opinion. And then eventually we get something bigger because of that. So prompt, yeah, but there is not the magic prompt either.
No, there's not. And it gets, people say, oh, it works 24/7 and it's never going to get tired. I look at it as, this is the writer that's really tired, because I got to start a new prompt. I got to okay, you go take a nap. I'm going to start again with a new prompt and a new session, right? Because I'm getting gibberish. And it's like you said, the most frustrating thing is, these are let's say it's a 10-point something or other. Okay, you have 10 points. Okay, keep those 10. Now let's expand on this because of X, Y, Z. And those 10 will all of a sudden change. Like, no, that was the good part. That was the good part. I want you to expand on the good part. And I'm like, all right, no. You go take a nap.
Have to give you something different, right? That's funny the way it works. Did you experience and play around, I'm assuming, also with visual? I mean, right now we're talking about writing, but photos, layouts, and video.
Absolutely.
That's another, something.
Oh, it's a whole
6 months ago we couldn't even really get there. Now we got actually audio on it. So how is that a game changer?
Oh, a game changer. And it's, again, the main thing is, this is exponential learning curve, right? There's a cute chart that I saw, probably 2 years ago, where, it was kind of the XY graph, and you have this little AI kind of bouncing along the bottom, and there's a little person there saying, oh, look at the little AI, it's cute. And then it hits the point where it takes off like a rocket. And then, of course, it's the boss, right? So this is exponential learning, how it gets better. So a year ago, the images, the video, it truly was a joke. I mean, maybe it was cute or fun, but 6 fingers and all these terrible things.
Still fascinating, though.
Still true. Absolutely. And there were usable directions. Again, I think it was the writer's room, or, let's kind of go to a sketch artist, maybe one of my storyboard artists, in a sense. What do you think about this? Here's the idea. Okay, we're not going to use that storyboard. But that gives us a direction. Yep. But what happened over the past, truly over the past, 3-6 months, is that exponential curve hit. So now we have truly usable images, and some are, almost indistinguishable from real life. Some are still hokey. Some are still, the shadow goes the wrong way, or
it's still the uncanny valleys sometimes.
Yes,
but less and less.
Right. So true. But what I've been most impressed with is, the large, literally think of like large language. So Google Gemini, they came out with VO3, not too long ago. That is frankly pretty darn impressive, right? So using the NVIDIA chips, using, what it's learned before, but now you've got really cute ways that people are using it. And it's the same thing though, but how creative can you be with it? So what you basically get now is a great version of an 8-second interview. Somebody's going to have a microphone and somebody's going to be answering the questions. So we had some fun with that. We had Lewis and Clark, right?
Yeah.
And so we had, so then Lewis and we had the ESPN reporter, and he's like, if Clark would just get out of bed for once and stop heading north, we could make this thing work. So, it was funny. It was, that kind of thing. There's a whole series on this, I can't remember what it's called, but something Bigfoot, on TikTok that I couldn't take my eyes off for about 20 minutes. And now I'm good. I don't need to go back. But again, Gen AI, and it's that's in this world. So images becoming very usable if you give it the right prompt, if you give it an image to start with. And I think video, the same. We're still nowhere near what we can make, custom. We're still nowhere near, when we, have an Apple product and we're going to do a phone explosion and you can see, the different chips and processing and that kind of stuff. You can't do that yet.
No. But so I want to go somewhere with this, because I love to talk to people that kind of went through my same mental process for probably the past 20 years or so. But before I go there, which is the big question, the million dollar question to you, is do you agree with like this big fear? I mean, I think I already know the answer, but maybe you want to explain it a little bit more. Like, there's been strikes in the industry. I mean, you produce movies. My wife, people know she is in the industry as a customer. And, we were all waiting to see something happen. And the big thing was AI, taking actors' role, writers' role, just pretty much happened. And I don't know if we ever got anywhere with that, to be honest with you, because it's still an evolving thing. Is that justified, this fear, or is the same fear that we had of many other technology in the past, and then, the luddities that destroy the machines and during the Industrial Revolution?
My feeling is the fear is real. My fear, it's justified. I don't want to say real, it's justified. It's real, but it's justified this time. I remember watching in 1992 Terminator 2, Judgment Day, and James Cameron with his studio, they created Liquid, right? The liquid metal, the bad guy, right? It was amazing. Yeah. And so people are saying, wow, in 5 years, we could just get Arnold's likeness and he doesn't even have to be in the movie. That was, 25 years ago, right? There was a lot of resistance to that because people could see where that goes. But now I think it's here, but the difference is it's not going to take multi-million dollars to make that happen. It could literally be hundreds of dollars, and the rights to that person. So there's a lot of rights issues. There's a lot of, can it really, can we really get the right emotion? And this is pretty interesting. So, when we're making a movie and we have a very good actor, the transfer of energy and the transfer of emotion is real. They're on screen. If they really are feeling, they're a great actor, right? So Daniel Day-Lewis, not even just that caliber, but somebody that feels something and they're crying on the screen and you feel it too. That's a transfer of emotion. Can AI get to that spot? Can AI get there? I truly don't know, but I have very few doubts that it will get there. It'll be doing it not in an original way. It'll be mimicking what it's seen before, but it will bring out emotion in us. Is it here today? No. Will it be here in a dozen years? Oh, probably. So yes, I think that fear of how are we going to make a living is hitting hard, not just for today, but in the future. And the other side of this is how people want to consume. And again, part of it is how people, we talked about Steve Jobs, I'll let the market know what they want, sort of, quote, if that was real or not. We're seeing either, companies put out information, out content, and people receive it in new ways, which is vertical, short form, make me laugh, give me a dopamine hit, and I'll move on and I'll swipe, TikTok, Reels, Instagram Reels, etc. Where long form, horizontal is it becoming a thing of the past, or is it just a different type, of consumption? So there's a lot of things happening. I mean, the consumer is changing. At the same time, technology is exploding. At the same time, some are running to what people want. Like that's a marketer mindset. What are they buying? Well, then let's make that, or a marketer, product manager, that kind of thing. Versus we are artists and we are going to put out the best product that we possibly can, and then have people come to it, sort of thing. So, I mean, it's three converging points and a bit of an explosion in the middle.
Yeah, and while it could be difficult, and I could see the 12 years mark, like a longer term for like a movie, which is, it's a lot of consistency, and the character, is AI going to be able to bring those character and the costume continuity? Like, I live with continuity with my wife when we watch a movie. That's not, that's not as dirty as it was before.
Right.
That kind of stuff. But I'm thinking, and I've seen some ads that are 30 seconds, 20 seconds, 45 seconds, where that time frame is less. Maybe there is no acting. Maybe it's a car. Maybe it's an airplane. Maybe it's a way of living, is what the product is bringing to you, and it's kind of nailing it. And you've done ads.
Yeah,
I feel like that's a lower fruit for AI to grab and steal from everybody else.
we have to do it, and so we are adapting. I mean, I just had a conversation with my team this very morning. Early this morning we have our kickoff call, and going to, customers are coming in, they're asking us how we, what our process is, that sort of thing. We're not going to hide that we will go to AI as a system or as a tool, and that's it. I mean, it's a tool for us right now.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going, we use AI for everything, because we don't. We still truly have original ideas, but do we use it as a sounding board? Do we use it as that writer's room or a creative room? Absolutely. But now, and this is recent, now we're able to use it in what I'll call post-production. And it's really production and post-production, because what we had, an example I think we talked about is the, firefighters. And so we had to, we were going to go out, light a building on fire. Really cool stuff. I mean, this is the kind of thing that I always wanted to do. Well, here was the, pseudo budget, because it is a firefighter school. So they have the buildings, they have the flames, they have the water, they can do all these things. So we don't have to go from scratch, but we're going to do all that. And this is, I mean, we're talking, in the six figures. I mean, $100,000 or more to make all this happen. Firefighters putting out the fire, building collapse, etc. Well, we went out and we filmed the firefighter and the hose and the water, and we did all of the rest of it with AI. The building, the flames, the layers. We put it together in AI, but then in production, you then layer it together so it looks real. And we did that, and it was 1/10 the budget. Does it look as real? No. Did the people in that room, the 1,000 people that watched that, did they really care? I don't think for a split second they cared. And so yes, you have to use it, you have to adapt. And that's my attitude. I know
it's more of people in the middle that I'm concerned when we talk about losing jobs in this industry, because I think the creative itself, the writer, if you're good, mediocrity is going to be killed, I think, and bad is going to be killed. But good, I think we can handle that still better than AI. But being able to say, here's the idea, give me 5-7 different angles, compared with having 5-7 different takes or cameras, that's going to take the job out of the light guy, the camera, the photography, and all of that, the rigs. And so that's the fear. I agree with you. The fear is real, for sure.
And it's different. So it's sort of when I'm, I have classes, I have my book coming out, right? So selling in an AI world. So, and it's really, the subtitle is, your story can be your superpower. And so truly your story can be your superpower, because AI is not doing that yet. That's an original thing that you can come up with. But one of the things that I suggest is take a problem that you're running into that's persistent and, repeatable and, real problematic, and then try to use AI to fix that problem. And so I think those pieces are being plugged in, right? So, you've got Cursor and Replit and, V0 and this kind of thing for coding, that kind of thing. So they're going to try for that for different areas of coding. They're not going to write their entire product, millions of lines of code, but they can troubleshoot. That's an area. So they can do that. In production, I just mentioned with the firefighters, I can mention, a dozen more where I'll give you a cool one. So there's an old video from AHA, Take on Me. It's a comic book. It's a comimic book that comes to life. Like these characters come to life, basically. So we're going to be redoing it. Yeah, it's amazing. It's even
tell me your age without telling me your age.
Exactly. Okay. It's over 50, under 60, pretty much in the middle there. And so what that would have taken to redo that, it was millions back then, is still quite expensive, but now we are starting the production of this using different AI tools for pieces of it. We can't do everything, just go create that video, but we can film. It doesn't even have to be the actor. It could literally be film me walking across the room, opening the door. Now let's layer in the AI and take out the color. Now let's make it sketch, right? Those kind of things. And then do the stutter step. So this mixture, that's a problem that we have. It's a huge, expensive problem. Now is not that big of a problem anymore. And so I think that's the way things are going to go. It's where, there's a million tools out there. But where can you win first? And unfortunately, when you win in producing something, creating something, I think in this age, it means somebody loses. And I don't like that. I don't like the I win, they lose. I like everybody to win. We all can gain. I get competitive. I get that we're going to compete against people, and we win this project. We help their brand grow. Their competitors aren't going to do as well, and ours don't either. That's okay. That's business. That's being good. But now we're replacing this many jobs. And are those jobs ever going to come back?
Or
not in that way.
Somewhere else.
They got to retool. They got to reskill. They've got to come back in a new way. So it's like, think 2 years ahead. What are the how do we even do that? But what would you like to be doing 2 years from now? Yeah. Let's start getting training in that.
Yeah. So here's the $1 million question that I was referring to is we talked about people in specialize in and again, be specialized in operating a camera. It's not a little thing. Those guys got real freaking skills. So even
and thousands of hours
that, it's pretty crazy. But let's talk about the creative process itself.
Okay.
Do you think that generative AI and the tools that we have is making the creative people better? Or, as many say, well, it's killing creativity because AI is going to do this for us. It's going to think for us. It's going to make things. Or, bring it on. Challenge accepted. Let's see the emotions, the experience, the real vision, that living a life and experiencing loss and experiencing love and all of that. Is it really AI going to learn all of that from us because it reads it, because it listens to stories, because it you know where I'm going with this? So
yeah, I do.
I don't want to feed you the answer because I don't think I know it. So don't listen to me.
I would love to know your answer. I'll give you my opinion. I can't give you the, here's the answer.
Oh, I don't have an answer. So
okay.
I create questions in people's mind. That's my goal. So let's go for more questions in people's mind.
That question was, how many will it make people more creative?
Yeah.
I think I got to go with a yes and no on this. All right. It's going to make more
Okay.
people creative because more people can create.
Cool.
There will be more creations out there. We're already seeing
Mm-hmm.
floods of, of content and video and voice and things like that where they didn't exist before. And because it's, inexpensive, easy, or fairly easy to do. So yes, in that way. Now, is more better? I think is the real question. Or is quality better? I think most people would rather get, if you're investing in it, you're paying for it, you're sitting down, you're investing the time, you really want quality.
Yep.
You really want to be, you're going to be emotionally invested in this. For me to get out, to go to the movies like I used to all the time, now with the family, it's a lot different. Now
Mm-hmm.
it's a bigger thing. Okay, how are we going to do this? Which one are we going to go see? What's the best investment of my time, of our time?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think if used in the right way, it can make people more creative, because this argument of, oh, it's not coming up with anything new. All right, I'm going to go with the counterpoint on my own
Mm-hmm.
here.
Yeah, go for
Oh,
it.
it's not creating anything new. It's just basing everything that it knows that came before it. Well, isn't that what humans do?
God, yeah. Amen. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Hallelujah.
Wasn't sure you were going to agree
No,
with me on that. That's what
I
we
mean,
do.
I wrote a newsletter. I published it yesterday about merging ourselves as a species with robots, which is something that Asimov said in 1965 in a
Yeah.
BBC interview. So I'm writing this piece, me and ChatGPT, whatever, but I go with the assumption that we are just evolving with technology, and our DNA, technology is part of who we are. We use tools, we're able to. Animals can't, we can. We grow with that. We evolve with tools and technology. But then I'm like, well, I didn't invent this, though. It's obviously Asimov said it, Andy Clark said it. Many thinkers before me. But I made it. I think I made it my own because of them. If I play something on the guitar because I'm inspired by a riff by someone else, or yeah, we're all feed all of each other. So this pinpointing of, oh, this has been done before. Well, there's 7 freaking notes on the, you know,
Exactly.
how
Yeah.
much can
The
you
guitar,
do?
right? It's going to be a little Jimmy Page in there. It's going to be a little, right? So,
Yeah. But is it really just copying and putting things together as ChatGPT or generative AI is doing now? Because it's not really understanding. It's just putting literally one word after another. It doesn't conceptualize what it's saying.
I'm
Will we
thinking,
get to it? That will be the game changer.
but the thing is, okay, so I think the really interesting point here is, with everything we talked about, the human experience and literally the experience, and I was, just watched Becoming Led Zeppelin. It's an amazing documentary.
Oh, it's on my list.
Oh
Yes.
yeah, I was on a plane. I'm like, oh, this is great. I had no idea that, this, within the first 3 years, they wrote the most iconic music. I had no idea, at least to me. But that's the thing. That's the whole point. To me, to my experience, I remember where I was when I first heard that. I remember going to buy that album. What's an
Mhm.
album? But going to the store, the girlfriend I had when we listened to, this kind of thing. And my brother is a musician. So
Here you go.
how it bounced off him and his life experience, right? So it comes down to two people go see the same movie and they walk out, and one's like, that was amazing. What? That was junk, right? Your life experience of what you want and your expectations. And
Yeah.
this one's thinking of the acting, and this one's thinking of the plot, or this one's
Yeah.
seeing, continuity issues, and the
Yeah.
glasses weren't there and they were, right? So, how we take it. Now, this is the scary part. The LLM, the large language models, they don't have that yet. Like, what's the context unless we give it to them,
Yeah.
right? So we can train them on that model. But I feel like that's really the scary part. And we saw that not that long ago with Grok coming out with, anti-Semitic and like Nazi, kind of, I don't know, I would say propaganda, but whatever it was, so, that kind of thing. And then they quickly corrected it, right? But what was fed in there? Which angle will it take? And it being that powerful, what angle is it going to take? It's not thinking. It didn't feel any of those things. It just read through history books, and maybe that was whatever, Mein Kampf was the last one I read. That's the scary part. Oh, we got to get rid of this society. Guess what? I'll call my cousin over here with the nuclear codes, my cousin being another AI, right? And so this is where it could really go off the rails. And this is why I think, obviously cybersecurity is so incredibly important. I got to do this. I watched this thing. I think it was the head of Perplexity and GPT, is this, the some of the heads of their development. And they were talking about the percent likelihood of a major disaster, like, kind of man-made / AI-made disaster, power grid or explosion or, war, this kind of thing. I think they all pegged it at about 20 to 30%, not 20 to 30 percentage of a percent, like 1 in 5 chance here in the next 10 years. That's very scary. It's kind of horrifying. Yeah. So anyway, I know we went from content creation to I'm going off.
I know, but that's the beauty of it,
Okay.
It's all connected.
Yeah. And what happens to the 60 or 80 million people that have been replaced by AI? How are they all going to get retrained? Are we going to have mass unemployment worldwide? Is it we all got to go back and become HVAC and roofing professionals? Where does it go? This is real. This isn't. I don't think this is hype. No. This is really happening, and I don't know. Curious what you think of that. So that's my long answer.
I agree with you. I mean, it's touched in, especially if you look at cybersecurity and any other form of technology that you have, it's entering everywhere. I mean, I know very well. I had a guest on my show many times, Dr. Robert Pearl. He's a former Kaiser Permanente CEO, and he's actually one of the biggest advocates for AI in the healthcare and medical, because there's a shortage, and because it can help with diagnosis, it can help with the basic stuff, freeing the doctor that are overworked, overstressed, and actually focus on things that are more important than the diagnose something that really is pretty easy to do, and probably an AI is going to do it much better with a kind of like a tunnel kind of vision focus onto that issue. And we know that AI is really good when you give it a specific task. Now we've been talking maybe more like the option of generative AI. So I think overall it's touching everything in our life, but as long as we don't let it make decision for us, like legal decision and life or death decision or ethical decision. I think at a certain point, I think it was Schmidt, the guy from Google, that says, well, we're going to need AI to control AI. I'm like, no, I'm not sure about that. I mean, I know he's probably thought it over and maybe was a headline, but I'm like, well, that if you put it that way, it's going to be a hard no. But if we're going to have different AI that balance each other, that, question each other, and then maybe they'll come out with something good. It's very philosophical. And let's face it, we never talk about ethics and philosophy as much as we're doing right now. Well, maybe in the ancient Greece, but nowadays, ethics, philosophy, and thinking with AI, we're kind of mirroring ourselves into it. We're looking in the mirror and we're like really say, well, all these biases the AI has, it's because it learned it from us.
Right.
Guess what? It didn't come out with that. If it come out with anti-Semitics and racials and non-diverse, thought opinion, it's somewhere funded.
Oh, it's riddled throughout our history, unfortunately. I mean, so decade after, and depending on where you look too. So yeah, an AI to control AI. I mean, that's an interesting thought. It's, kind of the US is, 3 houses of government, right? So, the balance of power was the original thought. But what if they all, in a sense, that's happening now, right? So they're all in agreement. and some, and say, okay, this is the one that will be in charge and we're going to okay it. Then that's not great. It does seem like people need real oversight, especially when it gets different codes, different access, passwords, and you hand everything over. Okay, great. Well, if I'm going to let it pay my bills, now it has access to my bank. What if it decides, well, this is for the greater good, then I'm going to clean you out to pay for this project, whatever that may be.
Right. Yeah.
Didn't you already?
And you go back to the quality of the prompt. How did you say that to it? And I'm rereading I, Robot, an older short story from Asimov. And then, the second story is the robot did that because you didn't put a sense of urgency into what he was supposed to be doing. And so he interpreted it in a different way. So the way you prompt the robot or the AI, it's very relevant. Like, right? If the goal is optimize something, then everything become the reason and to do that, then anything else worthless because it's their goal. It's very logic and not thought over. But we're getting really philosophical here.
Well, somewhat. 2001 and Wall-E both back that up as well.
Yeah,
right.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did you tell it at what point?
Well, how do we want to finish this? First of all, I have a feeling I'll love to have you back because this is the kind of stuff I like to do, like talk show style, right? Like, what are we going to talk about? Whatever, right?
We're just talking. It just happens to be a camera on us.
Yeah, but let's go back maybe to the branding and the use of it as individual, not even from a corporate perspective. Because we made the cases there, you made the cases there. I agree. We talked about making movies, creating advertisement and branding and creating stories. Let's finish maybe with a thought on the personal life, everyday life. Forget the branding. It's, is AI maybe, helping us, could help us. We didn't touch on agentic AI. That's a completely different story. Maybe that's for another time. Otherwise, we go for forever. But yeah, I mean, some people are saying, I don't want to deal with it. Some people say, I don't want to deal with computers and I don't want to deal with smartphones. And then they lost the train. They created a gap and I don't know what to do because for everything you need some kind of digital device. So is AI going to be the same thing? Do we need a personal experience, in your opinion, dive in and...
Do we need a personal experience?
For our own personal life and personal experience, forget the branding. Is it wrong or we should play with AI, with the one that we have available?
Well, I think that anytime you have that, a gap, I'm gonna sit this one out. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I'm not, again, I have my older generation of my family. I mean, like, my stepmom, not only is she not using it, she's scared of it. I'm not sure which channels she's watching, right? But she's scared of AI and she thinks it's going to run everybody out. So she doesn't want to touch it. And that's sort of, her solution to that. I don't think that that's a solution. Yeah, she's older, she's retired. I mean, it's not like it's going to be in a day-to-day for her. But I think two things. One is, if let's say she was younger or she would be getting back into work, when you have that kind of a gap that I'm going to skip this phase, it's incredibly hard to try to jump back in and catch up.
Yep.
So, like the advantages to the younger kids that are just growing up with this, again, I'll call it an advantage since this is the conversation. There are also disadvantages too. Are they going into deep thought? Are they actually reading full books? So you can't learn from TikTok feeds into your long-term memory and, come up with real deep insight. You can react or get it, that kind of thing. So, sorry, going there. The other side is, so when you have a gap, that's a problem. So there's a separation, right? And then the other side, I would say it's speed. And I think I've said this before, it's speed and separation. So are you going to separate yourself and fall behind and maybe not be able to catch up? And then it's the speed of the technology, which is basically, whether you like it or not, it's going to be a part of your life, whether you're physically picking up the phone and asking AI something or interacting with it. it basically is going to be controlling, what foods we buy from our refrigerator. And, over time, of course it is, right? The security cameras outside, it's going to feed somebody's moving. So let's call the police. It's going to be a part of our life, whether we sort of know it, I would say, or like it or not. So I don't think you can just sit this one out unless you're literally off the grid, and nobody on this podcast is off the grid because they wouldn't be hearing us. So.
True. And actually, my next newsletter, it's going to be something about the radio wave and the comparison between like podcasting and radio, because I was thinking, the non-boundaries of radio wave, they just go. And, we've used radio for propaganda, for reaching and learning. And now everything is filtered, but radio waves were no filter. But stay tuned for my newsletter, because I'm always thinking. In your case, we can just finish with that. AI is controlling transportation and supply chains and everything. So cybersecurity is important, but also realizing that we're landing with AI airplane, and we everything, even the thing that we see in the movies, it's still processed probably by an AI evaluating, is this movie going to be a success or not? Yeah. In most cases, or a song. That's why, as a Generation X, I want to go back to just go with what you feel, but that's 30 years, 40 years ago.
Yeah. And intuition. Is intuition going to matter in the future? Ooh, gosh, I live on intuition a lot. My gut feel, right? I think our generation does that. We feel it. We can go, that's the yes or no. What happens to that if AI is making all these decisions? That's another.
I think humans are still going for that. Even the kids on TikTok that have their own story. I think they just, hey, I'm going to film this. I think it's going to be good. So hopefully that's going to stay, right? But when it comes with big corporation, and I think that's when you got to justify the money. You're probably going to look at a lot of data, and maybe we lose a little bit of humanity there. But hopefully with creativity, we'll stay ahead. So how about we wrap it with that?
Creativity, we stay ahead. Absolutely true. I agree.
Good. Well, this was longer than planned, but I love how we touch on so many different things. And Maury, really, come back. Let's have another chat in a couple of months or something. And I know you're writing the book. It's not out yet. So
correct.
Maybe that would be a good excuse for
Oh, I'd love that.
Having you back and take it from where we're leaving it here. But as far as I hope the audience can again have a lot of questions. Leave comments if you want to. We'll share with both our audiences. And if you have thoughts, I hope they do have thoughts. And they let
please
us know
send
about
feedback.
it. Yeah, we'll love that. Cool. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Marco. Great seeing you.
Yeah, and everybody else, stay tuned, subscribe, and find me on LinkedIn. My newsletter is there. So I'm not on TikTok. I should, maybe. No, it's another one. I don't want to deal with that. Thank you, Maury.
Take care.
BlackCloak provides concierge cybersecurity protection to corporate executives and high net worth individuals to protect against hacking, reputational loss, financial loss, and the impacts of a corporate data breach. Learn more at blackcloak.io.